Remember that the discriminant of a quadratic equation is the value below the square root sign, or b squared minus 4ac. And the discriminant tells us how many and what kind of zeros a quadratic equation will have, which makes sense, especially given that it is the value underneath the square root sign, and it shows us if the quadratic will have real values for zeros or imaginary values for zeros. And if the discriminant is positive or greater than 0, the roots of the quadratic equation will be two different real numbers. If it is equal to 0, there will only be one real number. And if it is a negative value, if the discriminant is negative, remember it's under the square root sign, that will give us two complex conjugates, or two values that have imaginary numbers involved in them. Let's try a couple as practice. Once you have determined the discriminant for a quadratic equation, you want to think about, is it a positive value, is it equal to 0, or is it negative, to figure out what kind of zeros the quadratic equation will have. So for each of these discriminants given, let's figure out what kind of zeros the quadratic will have. If the discriminant is 12, that is a positive number. There will be two real zeros that are different from each other. If we have a discriminant of 0, the roots or the zeros are going to be just 1, and it will still be a real number, but it will be one real 0, or one real root to this quadratic equation. Negative 15, if we have a negative value underneath the square root sign, our zeros will be imaginary or complex values, and there will be two different complex or imaginary values involved. Another negative value, we're going to have two complex roots again, with imaginary numbers involved. We have a positive value that's greater than 0. That means it will be two real numbers, two different real numbers as the root, and then another positive greater than 0 value. So again, two real zeros, two different real zeros or roots to this quadratic. So once again, keep in mind, if it's a positive discriminant, if b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, two different real numbers as the roots are zeros. If the discriminant is equal to 0, it will be one real number, and if it is negative or less than 0, it'll be two different complex conjugates as the roots or the zeros.